Oh boy, I'm pumped up. Great song, good intro song. Welcome back. We're back. Week 12, I think. It's already over. Holy shit. Or almost over. Week 12 preview for myself, David Quist, and my lovely, gracious co host, KB Kirk Brown. How we doing, bud?
We're doing today with the news regarding a few different topics that I'm going to kind of hop on. So, Dave, if you have any questions or anything you want to kind of hop into, feel free to interrupt me. But Jim Harbaugh, the news came out. I'm actually happy it came out today so we could cover it. Michigan is not pushing forward, and they settled/reached a settlement agreement with the Big Ten. The settlement basically was like, yep, we're going to have Jim Harbaugh serve the 3-game suspension with understanding that you're not going to press forward with any investigations or press forward with any more penalty until the end of the NCAA investigation. That's kind of what I've read and a lot of people have stated. My opinion on that is that the Big Ten maybe had something, maybe we're threatening a Big Ten championship game ban,
Mm-hmm.
or had extra ammo that hadn't been fully proven or released, but the NCAA had given to them. And so they kind of threatened and put that at Michigan's neck, like, hey, if you want to push this, we can play ball. Um, Disappointing as a Michigan fan, just because I love Harbaugh on the sidelines. I like how he interacts with his players. I mean, all the players love him. I hope they stay focused through the week, but outside of that, no big questions. I think the Big Ten.
Question.
I know Michigan Twitter has been like, "Oh, they're going to get dominated, and this isn't this, there, that." And the Big Ten has held their own, and they've done a good job handling it from the set of they made a stance and they haven't been able to be pushed through.
I do have a
So
question. What's up
yeah,
with, it might have just been some guy troll on Twitter, but I did see something about like some, I don't know if it was gambling or something like
yeah,
that. It was about the spread and how they had a huge cover. Now they don't really cover that much. I don't know if it was somebody just making up some bullshit or an actual thing. I know there was last year with the computer or whatever with another coach or something. I don't know if it's related. Probably not related, but I thought I'd just bring it up because I saw a couple people talking about it.
yeah. I saw that a lot on Ohio State boards.
Of course.
I don't know what that's related to. I don't know where that all plays in. From my understanding, the Jesse Minter thing is completely unrelated to the what's his name, Stallions, Connor Stallions thing. The whole entire spread, and that's where this is all coming from.
What about Weiss? Is that
Personally,
all gone?
yeah, I don't know. It's an FBI investigation still currently
Crazy.
ongoing. So the thing is, too, um, people are acting like, oh, well, this will have legal ramifications and stuff like that. Again, it's not illegal to know the other team's signs. It's not illegal to have their whole entire playbook downloaded on a PDF. None of that's illegal. So I don't know where they would get them. Where some people are saying, I think both sides, we don't know a whole lot. I was gonna bring that up too, Dave. So thank you for bringing it up. I don't know honestly.
Yeah.
I don't.
There's a
It could.
lot
I
going
mean, there
on.
could be a whole entire betting conspiracy where they're loading books and there's weird gambling happening, and that's why Weiss got fired and Stallions was helping him. I don't know. I'm kind of more just waiting and not really speculating on some of the rumors as
Right.
much as I can, because obviously the stuff that we do know is Stallions did it. He wouldn't conform with anyone. He didn't conform with Michigan. He didn't conform with the Big Ten, the NCAA, which is why he immediately got fired. So
You'd
just
even
kind of
fill out
playing it by.
expense reports.
Yeah, he didn't have any expense reports
Oof.
from the team. I don't know good or bad, but that doesn't mean that if they was a grand conspiracy, they were smart enough not to have the expenses go through the actual books of the team. So we're one up on having some smart knowledge on keeping it off the record. But yeah, I don't know how all that kind of levels out, what that all looks like. But that was a report today, but I don't know.
Yeah, for
So
me, probably the right thing to do for Harbaugh. I think trying to like if you keep pushing against the NCAA, which they really don't do anything if you think about everything. Back in the day when Ohio State got all the tattoos with prior, Ohio
that's
State. I'm pretty
ridiculous.
sure Ohio State made things happen right away, and the NCAA like just said, "Hey, you guys should do this," but they didn't really do anything, unless I'm completely wrong.
Well, it was in the off season, so I think it was a little bit different when it all kind of came out. So they were
But didn't
not
Ohio
bowl
State do
eligible.
more stuff than like the NCAA still didn't really do anything, and then over the years we all were like, well, the
I
NCAA
think it
doesn't
might
really
have
do
been like a
much.
self-imposed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think part of it is that the NCAA is like, hey, I don't want to come down hard on you if you guys self-impose a 1-year bowl ban, we'll be fine with it and let bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA usually tries to placate without. They don't have a lot of power,
No, they
but
really don't.
unless you have anything else that kind of transitions into the next point that I wanted to bring up
No,
before
the
we get into
NCAA
game.
sucks anyway, and you're gonna get into that.
Yeah. So James Madison and Jacksonville State
The Dukes and
both
the
made the
Cocks.
FCS to FBS leaps,
Hmm.
and they are both bowl eligible, and they're being denied bowl eligibility status.
Usually it's a 2 year thing what I saw, but I know JMU for sure did a actual like FBS, like they jumped to a conference and they're playing an actual like FBS schedule. I'm not sure about Jacksonville State, but like they're in a legit conference and they're winning and beating everybody's ass, and like nope, you guys can't do it.
Yeah, previously when you transitioned and for a lot of different sports, you have to have an intermediary period where you're not technically in a conference. But I think in like 2018 maybe they introduced where you could immediately join and have status in a conference and play in a conference, but you're ineligible for the postseason, including conference championship games
Mm.
and including bowl games. And this is why the NCAA sucks.
It's
It's an old
lame.
rule,
Doesn't
a
make any
rule
sense.
that doesn't matter. The NCAA could get all the publicity they wanted in the world. What's stopping you? What is stopping you from saying, you know what? We looked at this rule. We understand that it's modern times. Let's move past this rule, and everyone would be better off. But instead, and this is why the NCAA has to go. We have to get a new governing body just for college football. We can leave the other sports that don't make any money to the NCAA, have all that money funneled through the colleges or whatever have you. But it is absolute bullshit. It's a F
Agree.
factory, right? It's
Agree.
a shit show on top of itself. There's
Agree.
no reason. JMU is undefeated, incredible in their second season in the FBS. Absolutely incredible.
Hmm.
Jacksonville State, I think, is also in their second season, and they're like, oh well, you
Um,
can't get that.
I think I'm not
They
sure
don't.
about them, but I know
Oh,
JMU is.
Jacksonville.
I'm
Okay.
not sure about the Cox.
Yeah, JMU is definitely in their second year. But the thing is like if you want competitive advantage to grow, having the 14 extra bowl practices is the
It's huge.
advantage.
It's
If you
huge.
want a team, you want them to go into a bowl game, right? It's not 1950. There's athletes everywhere. There's production everywhere. You can find places, you can match up. You want those guys to get extra bowl practices in because guess what? Those freshmen that early enroll, they can get bowl practices, and that's actually how you build a program. That's why like you look at teams coming in year out, and like for MSU for example, they had a lot of young freshmen, but they
Hmm.
didn't really play, and they didn't start really turning it on to the second half of the season after they get enough practices and bowl games. But if you get the 14 practices in, you can literally make a huge impact your freshman year because you
Yeah.
already have 14 practices with the team along with summer, along with spring and or yeah, or winter and spring workouts and stuff like that. And that's just something that I think the NCAA is stubborn on. I think that there might be just a dumb group pile sack of shit, and I'm pissed off at them. Besides them investigating Michigan, it's beside the point. They just don't do a good job at managing themselves, and they have very archaic rules, very dumb rules, and I think that they should just be someone else should
Somebody,
take the role.
somebody we know, even one of us, who cares? But in our friend circle, should try to get a job there and just slowly kind of work our way up and listen to these conversations because somebody's got to have a brain and just say like, guys, like James Madison has earned the right to play in this conference championship. They've earned the right to play in a bowl game. What are we doing? And they're like, oh no, no, this is the rule. Like, no, you guys are completely wrong. This let these people play. If somebody we know or one of us can do that in the future, or and somebody's probably gone in 5 or 10 years if we're honest with ourselves, but that'd be. I would love to hear about some conversations behind closed doors because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Um, they've handled things poorly with Tez Walker, like we talked about as well, and now
Yeah.
two teams that should easily be in a bowl game or for JMU a conference championship, which they've earned. They're 10-0. So
Well, that's the thing too. Is like you're taking away a conference championship opportunity for student athletes when they did nothing wrong. These guys could have enrolled before JMU even thought of joining the like the coaches probably maybe the coaches knew but they couldn't talk about it. They enrolled as freshmen in 2020. They transitioned in 20 after the 2021 season. Now 2022, 2023. Now they're redshirt seniors and they don't even get a chance to play in the conference championship game that they've earned by their play. And that's just one of those things where it's like, what? Why? I just like I think the biggest problem is there's too many old white men that just hate the world.
Probably.
And and I'm not even like, oh, anti, like a lot of them are very wise. They've earned their dues, but they're so stuck in a lot of ways too, where it's just like, who gives a shit? This team's good. This team plays good, fun football, and let's let them win. Let's let them compete, because at the end of the day, it's not only that, but it's the money. You're taking JMU out of a bowl game. That bowl game could be a New Year's Six bowl game. If they went out, go 13-0.
I mean,
That could be a bowl.
they beat
That could be a New
Virginia.
Year's Six bowl where they get millions of dollars for their conference, and you're saying, "Oh no, we're worried about the student athletes and the health and safety."
Yeah, it's a bunch of
Go after
bullshit.
yourself, then. Say,
Yeah.
"I hate you," and you kind of should just like lay in a shallow, waterway and just like let a flood come. Like that would help all of us out.
Yeah, I hear you. They've won some good games. They beat a Power 5 team. Close game with Troy. They played Coastal to end the year in App State. So two good games. It's a bummer, but we'll keep our eyes on them. Just kind of look at their games, and hopefully they finish undefeated. If I'm them, I really stick it tentatively to say, hey, national champs, 12-0. That'd be hilarious. I think UCF did it a couple years back.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that stuff when the university. Obviously, this is money and power, and it's stupid. So kudos to the team. Hopefully, they keep on winning, and we'll probably talk about them at the end of the season. Hopefully, they stay undefeated because that'd be a cool story. But after all the malarkey we just talked about, which is still important, we're gonna jump into some games here. We got a good slate here, even though the SEC kind of takes a little bit of the foot off the gas for this week, but there's still some good games. We're gonna jump in right now. We got 10 Louisville at the U. I'm gonna say this is a toss-up game. It was .5 when I was doing my notes yesterday. Now it's -1 Miami. I'm gonna say this is a toss-up. Looks like Van Dyke is in. He's quarterback one for Miami now. I think Miami's season though is over. Hot start. They were doing really good, and then that mistake by their coach, no timeout, and Georgia Tech beat them. And ever since then, they've been on this slide. They've lost 4 out of the last 5, I think, and they're just not doing great. On the other hand, you got my boy Jeff Brom, football guy, great offensive mind, XFL. That clip is one of my all-time favorites. And I think his running back is about to get 100 yards. Jordan, who you've highlighted before, solid running back. He is about 24 yards off of 1,000. And I think this Louisville D has been pretty tough over the last, 6 or games or so. So I'm going to jump on the Louisville Cardinal bandwagon here. I'm going to say Louisville money line. Shout out my friend Trent, who's from there. He's a Cardinal fan, and I think they take it to Miami here and they win by a touchdown or 10 points.
Yeah, I like that, and everything you just said, I am with. So Tyler Van Dyke, just to go on him, so he was benched officially. It wasn't an injury
Oh,
concern.
wow.
I just read a bunch of newsletters because I was like reading leading up to it. I was like, oh, Tyler Van Dyke's gonna start. Sounds like he had a good week of practice, and then they benched him for Emory Williams. And then Emory Williams played in the game. He played pretty well. He has a compound fracture in his arm, I think
Mm.
they said, in his left arm. So he's out, which is the reason why TVD is on. He has 16 TDs, 12 INTs. And Emory Williams, by the way, is a true freshman. So one of the first, Mario Cristobal recruits, which is probably the reason why he's so highly touted
Yep.
and liked. They've had a lot of injuries in the backfield, Miami. No one has over 100 attempts in the backfield, which is a cause for concern. There's 4 guys with like 60 carries. They do have a good receiving core, Restrepo and George. Those are their 2 guys. They also have Kobe Young back there. And then
Restrepo's got to
playing
be
the,
26. Sorry, but he was there when we played the Kenneth Walker, so he's got to be old. But anyway,
an old
he's
old
good
guy.
though.
Yeah. The defense, has held up the run game, so that's going to be one of the battles. Louisville has really dominated in all their big wins. They've been running the ball extremely well. Jawar Jordan, 976 yards, like you mentioned.
Yep.
They also have Isaac Garundo, who had a really big carry last week in a close game against Virginia, which is kind of like oh my God, Virginia almost scared them, 492 yards, 7 TDs. Guy you do have to shout out is Jamari Thrash, their wide receiver, transfer, 734 yards, 6 TDs. But defensively, they have an absolute dog. Ashton Gillette, he has 10 sacks, 13 tackles for loss on the year. Really, really productive
Oh
season
yeah.
for him. They also have Devin Neal, who's their big guy in the secondary, 4 INTs, 6 passes defended. This is a run-first team, and Miami has held up well against the run. But I like this Louisville team. This Miami team hasn't been the same. The Mario Cristobal effect. None of their quarterbacks really play very well. They make stupid, dumb mistakes down the road in games, and that's kind of what we've seen so far. I think Jeff Brom's the better coach. I think he has, outside of quarterback, Jack Plummer is nothing special, but overall, I like this Louisville team. Anything else you kind of wanted to add?
No, I just want to say, well, I guess yes, I'm an idiot. But they've had a lot of close games. Miami, since that Georgia Tech loss, they lost to UNC, overtime against Clemson win, overtime against Virginia win, and then a loss to North Carolina State and Florida State. So kind of on a weird stretch here. I just want to mention the weather. Probably beautiful weather down in Miami. I see partly cloudy and 79, so please enjoy that. Louisville probably the weather's pretty nice in the Midwest right now. I must say it was like 60 degrees today. So
Mm-hmm.
Louisville take that warmth, run it down their throat, and stop them because their defense can do that. So looking forward to Louisville in the 12 o'clock slate here during our
Yeah.
games, KB. But I'll
One more thing. I just wanted to mention that Miami has struggled offensively, and this Louisville team has definitely been better defensively than maybe we expected throughout the year. So this could be a low-scoring battle if
yep,
Louisville
yep.
doesn't really get a lot of running. So it could be one of those games where we see Mario Cristobal's decisions come back again.
Also buy one get one for the U. So nobody shows up.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ay ay ay.
Out.
Okay, next game. I like this matchup. Number 22 Utah at 17 Arizona on the Pac-12 network. That's an L. 2:30 Eastern kick, so I think that's 11:30 local. Weird decision there, but anyway, into the game here.
No, 12:30 local.
Oh
Because
yeah,
we're on
daylight
Mountain
savings time.
Standard
Look at
now.
me. 12:30 local time kick. I'm all messed up because of daylight savings time. Anyway, jump into the game here. Arizona's hot. Probably the hottest team in college football. The last 3 or 4 weeks here, they're just rolling 44-6 Washington State. They beat Oregon State, they beat UCLA, and then a close game against Colorado last week. Arizona's hot. Fafita is a dog, a dude, whatever you want to say about an athlete that got a chance to play, and he's been slinging it around to. If you didn't know this, him and McMillan went to high school together.
Hmm.
So I think this is a really fun game, though. Utah's got that really tough D. I've probably said it 20 times this season, and Arizona's really hot. I think right now, Fafita is legit, and he's too much for Utah, and they get a squeaker here. I'm going to take Arizona money line. And there's a lot of other news with Arizona's athletic department, and they don't know how to count. They don't know how to count their money. I think it was like 230 million or something. Um, woof. If football keeps winning, and obviously the basketball program is very well known and respected, so I doubt they get cut. But shout out to all those kids that might lose, opportunity to play college sports because somebody in their department absolutely fucked up. I don't know how that happens, but hopefully it doesn't affect the game here. I'm going to take Arizona money line. Like I said, it's a close toss-up game. The spread is -1, so another toss-up game. Arizona's favorite at home on a neutral site, so it'd be +2 Utah. Usually it's a 3-point swing. But give me the Arizona Wildcats, and I think this will be a really fun game, fun matchup.
Yeah, the $230 million. It seemed like they're counting it as like a clerical error that they were like bad at their math. Which,
That's a lot
if
of money.
someone miss, it's not like that's not like an accident. Like something had to have gone on in the background that I'm sure will come out because you don't accidentally not account for $230 million.
Yeah.
That's something that can like hamper an entire athletic department. If you, especially if you're investing, which I'm sure they are going into the Big 12. So be on the lookout. Jed Fish and Fafita as a package elsewhere around the country. It's definitely
Come to East
an
Lansing, I'll take
opportuni-
you.
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity now because you won't have the NIL or maybe the infrastructure support over the next 10, 12 years that maybe you would at other mediocre programs, which Arizona football isn't necessarily like
They
the
got
biggest
Gronk.
winner. Yeah, I mean they do. Gronk will just put all of his NFL salary and help
Right.
cut it down by a fifth. But I like Utah in this game.
Ooh.
Um,
I'll give you Utah
I
money
think
line.
Fida Magic is going to lose some of it. I know that they're a super hot team, but eventually you run into someone that's a little bit better, and it's less daunting to play here now. It's out of the hundreds. We're in the 80s and
58
70s.
kickoff I got here.
58-degree kickoff, exactly.
Perfect.
So it's going to be a little bit closer to the mediocre weather. I think Utah team has a lot to prove. Even though offense has really struggled at times. I don't think this Arizona offense is necessarily a world beat, or the Arizona defense is necessarily a world beater, and
Yeah.
we've seen Utah be able to do things against non-capable defenses. And this is going to be a fantastic matchup. We talked about it in the Oregon State game and the UCLA game. How does Arizona look against like a stellar defense?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to see again. I love Fafita. I want to take them, but I think this is just too much. They're not necessarily at that part of the program where week 11, or week 12, the last week of the, with 1 week left in the season, where they're going to be able to, hang around and maybe Fish. There's rumors around the program that maybe Fish is leaving and Fita's
Wouldn't
leaving, and
blame
maybe
them.
that plays an impact onto this game. So I'm taking Utah in this matchup.
Mm.
I like the run game. I like their defense to kind of hold up and keep it close. It's not going to be a big spread, obviously. It's a close
It's a
game, but I
toss up.
like a game-winning field goal or maybe a touchdown score late here for Utah.
You're talking about just like coaches and quarterbacks possibly coming. I watched a Twitter today, and Jalen Daniels for Kansas said he was staying. So maybe the little birdie that I heard or read was incorrect. We'll see. I don't
There's a
trust.
guy.
I don't trust college athletes really that much, especially with NIL. I mean, I respect if he stays there, respect to him. That's great for him. But with all the money being thrown around, and you want to win now. Let's be honest. I don't think state will be anything special next year, but our schedule is favorable in my opinion. So just something else to think about. Jalen Daniels said he would be back. Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Well, there's this guy. He was on. I think it was Colorado, who tweeted out, "Buffs, I'm with you." It was his first year as a head coach, and then where did he go?
Michigan State.
MSU. So don't believe anything.
True.
The only places of jobs that you really wouldn't ever upgrade or leave are probably Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia,
Or would Dan
LSU.
you think do you think Dan Lanning I'm gonna
USC?
get this is a quick question. Dan Lanning to A&M.
No, 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 no.
I don't think so. I think Oregon's a top 10, top 7 job. Personally, I don't think in A&M it can be a little toxic in my opinion. They're kind of cultish. Sorry, Jeff, but it's true, and it seems like a lot of Oregon coaches move very quickly when Oregon has a bag. They have Nike in their back pocket. Just something to think about really quick.
Yeah, I mean, you had Chip Kelly who moved, and he went away, and then you had Mario Cristobal, but Mario Cristobal had ties with
He's
Miami,
from
and
Miami.
I think that's a big
Did
reason why he
Did
returned
Helfrich
there.
get fired or did he leave? He was
I think
after
he got fired
he
for
coached Oregon when they played State.
Mario, but I don't 100% know. I know Chip Kelly left to the NFL, obviously, and that's a completely different.
He's probably
scenario.
gone too.
I think, yeah. I mean, that's a big thing too. But I think the thing with Lanning is you're entering a new era, and you have everything you kind of want lined up in front of you, with how everything can goes with the new NIL, and I think that lines up more favorably to Alabama's historically great. Georgia's not historically great. And so Oregon's kind of the Georgia-ish of the West Coast where they have a ton of resources, they have all the money in the world, and it's a cool place to be. You get to wear the jerseys, that's a big part of it. And so the Pacific Northwest produces some talent, and I think that's a good kind of location for Landing to kind of stay.
Me too. It's been like the last 15 years or so they've been upper
And,
echelon.
and there's less pressure. There's less pressure there. Obviously there's pressure, but there isn't
A&M is
pressure.
like win now. We just paid our
Yeah.
other coach 76 million to get the fuck out. So
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
luck
exactly.
whoever takes that job. Not Campbell, by the way. He's staying with the Lions. That's a dumb move. Anyway, sorry for the side tangent, but a good conversation. But we're gonna jump back into the games. We got number 1 Georgia at 8 Tennessee. I got -10 Georgia.
18 Tennessee. Right?
18. Sorry. Oh yeah, I got a little. There's a 1 there. Bad handwriting
Okay,
by me.
perfect.
Sorry. 1 Georgia at 18 Tennessee. I got Georgia -10. KB, what are your thoughts?
Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree there. What are your thoughts, though? Why? I mean, my first note here is Beck, at this point, is underrated, and I will say that I've underrated him. I have
Yes.
all season. I thought he wasn't too great, and then he's been every week just getting better, kind of flying under the radar and doing a good job. So that's my first note to you. Go ahead
Dude,
and
that's such a good point, Dave, and I really appreciate you for saying that because
oh sure.
this Georgia team is obviously great. I think defensively they don't necessarily have the names that we're accustomed to in the front seven. Now, secondary wise, Starks, Bullard, Smith, they might have the best secondary in the country. They are not allowing. They've allowed 250 passing yards twice. They've allowed 65% completion percentage twice. Has anyone ever completed 65% and 250 yards on them this year? No. So
No.
it's an elite passing defense. But I just wanted to mention that. But bouncing back to back. Wow, bouncing back to back. You. But 3,000 yards on the season, 18-5. He is a guy, first year starter, and they put a lot on his plate at times,
They
but
did.
he's a redshirt junior. So he's been in the program
So
for
he's like
4 years.
28, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in football years, yeah. But he's really developed. He has a good, consistent arm. I think if he stays another year and becomes a redshirt senior, I mean, people might transfer out behind him, but he could push himself into first round draft stock.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there was the pregame hype, and I don't think that the game was necessarily on him. You got Bowers back. You got McConkey back. Rolling. They figured out the run game a little bit
They can
last
run.
week.
They can run.
They killed Ole Miss there. I like them. And again, I bet on Tennessee one game this year. Every other time I was like, I don't believe in Tennessee. Don't believe they're going to win. How could I ever believe
That
they're
was
going to
last
win?
week.
And last week I was like, you know what? They might pressure me. And I was just dead wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm just never falling for that mistake again. Joe Milton, I love you. I hope you have a good long NFL career as a backup that will sling it 60 yards and understands defenses. But you just aren't that guy. He is averaging 7.8 yards an attempt with one of the most explosive arms in college football. And that means he is inaccurate and inaccurate deep, and they can't push the ball down the field, which it means
Yep.
in this offense that you're dead.
They run
because
the
this
ball well
offense is
too. It's crazy.
yeah, they're predicated on running the ball, and if you add people in the run game, we're going to throw it over top of you. He doesn't have the accuracy to do
No.
that consistently like we saw last year, which is why he previously lost his starting job. This is going to be an absolute rout. Hopefully Tennessee finally falls out of the
They
top
shouldn't be
25
ranked.
because the problem I have, again, top 25 is awesome. I think, we're going to talk about our top 15.
Yes.
But too often we reward teams from getting the shit kicked out of them by good teams instead of like people who actually win football games, the thing that matters. Like, well, they have a bunch of good losses. It's like just getting your shit kicked in by good teams doesn't mean that you're a good team or sort of good.
I agree.
So that's something. But Dave, I kind of talked a lot about that.
No,
but
no.
your thoughts as well, because I think we're in agreement here that Georgia's probably going to
100%,
rout.
1,000% agree. Georgia's going to beat their ass. I hope they just run it up on them. Tennessee, Neyland is a great stadium. Don't be wrong. They get rowdy, they get ruckus, but like Tennessee's ever since they haven't been great since early 2000s, and everyone thinks they're kind of back. Similar to Texas, not as crazy, but they're not there yet. I think Heupel's a good coach, so hopefully in the next couple of years he gets there. Maybe he finds an actual really decent quarterback. I know they have that young kid. I can't think of his
Yep,
name right now.
Nico.
Yep, but
Nico, I am Leve.
I just want to bring it up again. I have been criticized Beck all season. He's been really good. His numbers don't lie. He's got 3,000 passing yards, like you said, 18 touchdowns and 5 picks. Good for him. They've kind of figured out the run game as well. Bowers is back, and he's just going to get better and more healthier, whatever that surgery is on his ankle. Science is crazy. But I hope they get throttled here. I think Georgia covers by 17 or 21, maybe even more. I think they run away with it, and Tennessee kind of gives up here at the end. So we're on the same thought process here, and yeah, we're both taking Georgia minus the points. What do you got?
Well, the last thing I wanted to bring up, so I was looking at one other thing too. I love some of the stats that they can bring up. So this is the amount of plays that the Georgia defense has faced the last 3 weeks, kind of in their big games. 59 plays, 5.7 yards a play. 64 plays, 5.7 yards a play. 69 plays, 5.1 yards a play. That was their most recent performance.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri is the only team that's kind of held their offense in check, and they held them to 5.9 yards a play. And so they've outgained yards per play all these guys, obviously in wins. But it's one of those things where their offense can be slowed down a bit at times, but I don't think Tennessee has the defense, and I don't think anyone until maybe we get to Alabama has a defense to slow them down or even give them difficulty down the stretch.
Yeah, I think Mizzou just knocked out Tennessee, and I think that will kind of, roll over to this week, and I think Georgia just, one haymaker, bang, and then they're out. Tennessee, get me out of the top 20 here. You're going to be out of the top 25 too after this week. You're going to get smoked. Next game, a fun game. My lovely team that doesn't want to win anymore, Air Force. UNLV at Air Force. Air Force -3. This is a big Mountain West matchup here. This is the top two teams, I'm pretty sure. And UNLV's they have 2 losses. One was to Michigan.
Yep.
Big game out in the West. I've got a couple thoughts here. I want to ask you a question as well. For me and for both of us, can Air Force bounce back? They've had bad games, bad turnovers. I don't know if their quarterback's healthy. So no more turnovers, please. I want Air Force to be in the game. But for you, KB, as a coach, as a football mind, I know you are. You're more analytical than I am. Would you use a go-go offense or old school triple option offense in 2023?
So if I had academy players, I would run the triple option. It's the only
You
offense
could run a.
that
I feel like you could run a
accommodates
spread option, like Army kind of
your.
does. Army is kind of doing it.
Yeah, the problem is that when you go to the spread, you're already starting so far behind
True.
that negative plays when you play teams who are so much more athletically gifted and bigger than you can add up, which is why they're not very good and why we've seen so much success for Air Force. So I would go offense
Mm-hmm,
if
mm-hmm.
I was like had a choice, and the reason
It's really
being is
interesting. I was watching highlights. It's really interesting.
there's a little bit more misdirection, and you can throw much easier out of it
Yeah.
because of blocking assignments. So I think a lot of the blocking assignments, I mean, you watch an academy team try to pass and like actually drop back. No one knows
No,
how to pass block.
can't do it.
It's bad and gross, and people are missing assignments, and there's people coming from everywhere. And I think the go stops you more and allows you to throw more screen passes, which screens are an extension of the run game. So I think
Yeah.
your run game actually expands under the go offense. I
Mm.
love this UNLV team. They only have one loss. What's the
Two
spread?
loss.
Or
Minus
well,
three.
one conference loss.
Yeah, they
Minus
lost to
three to Air
Fresno.
Force. Air Force
Minus
is
three. Air
favored.
Force is. It's a toss-up game. Air Force is home. Minus three.
Right.
So on a neutral site, this is a toss-up.
I'm taking UNLV.
Yeah.
I love them early in the year. I talked about them in the Michigan game, and I've always I watched some highlights, been definitely tracking them. So I'm gonna take UNLV to cover here, and I think the thing that I love most about this offense is they're willing to win running the ball and passing the ball.
Yep. Yep.
They're willing to do either. And I think that's another reason why the go is so nice is because you're not limiting yourself offensively. And obviously they have to because of academy stuff, but just going back to that point. But Dave, this is your team and they
Yeah.
need to bounce back win.
They
And
do.
they've had, like I said, I think 9 turnovers or 10 turnovers the last 2 weeks. So that's really what this game comes down to because I think if they don't turn the ball over, I mean, they win both of those last 2 games, but if they turn the ball over like they have, I mean, oof.
Yeah. UNLV can throw it around. Ricky White, shout out, former Spartan dog who single-handedly, him and Rocky Lombardi, took it to Michigan the COVID year. I'm gonna count it. KB was at my
You guys
house.
got Don Brown fired, so I'm so thankful for both of
Yep.
those guys.
KB was at my house watching that game, and we played some cornhole in my front yard. Shout out COVID. Um, but I just want to bring that up. They can throw it around. They can run. They got Ricky White. Air Force is a little bit down here, and it really hurts my heart to say this, but I'm taking UNLV money line. I just don't think Air Force is. I think they're too mistake prone right now. I don't know if their quarterback is back, and I think this go offense. And I was watching some highlights today. Their quarterback is pretty good. Maeva, if I'm saying that correctly. They got 2 decent running backs. From what I was saw in the highlights, like you said, it's like a pistol shotgun. 2 guys, one behind the quarterback and a guy next to him. It's kind of interesting setup. I really want Air Force to win. Don't get me wrong; they're kind of the team I'm watching here. But just the way they've been playing, the mistakes they've been making, I'm gonna go with the running Rebels money line. Hurts to say. I'll try to watch this one. This is on CBS Sports Network, and I'm kind of got something else going on in Grand Rapids, so I might kind of just check my phone here and there. But a 3:30 Eastern kick. I want the Falcons in my heart, in my gut, but my brain and my knowledge is saying UNLV money line, so I'm going to take them. And hopefully I'm wrong, honestly, but the way Air Force has been playing with the mistakes, I just can't take them.
Yeah, I won't be able to catch basically any of these games except for the early slate.
You got a
'cause
game.
I'm going to the Oregon ASU football game. Gonna get my tickets in order, and we're gonna watch that game with a buddy of mine who's flying down. Shout out promo guy. Thank you for coming down to the desert. You're probably enjoying the weather, even though the Midwest. I did see some like
been
rain
nice.
and it definitely cooling down next week. So this week maybe not the best week, but it's 80 here, so not bad either.
Perfect. Let's jump to the next game. Kansas State at Kansas. 21 Kansas State at 25 Kansas. The spread currently is -9.5 Kansas State. Whew. I had 8 yesterday, so that line moved to 1.5.
Yep.
They called this one the Sunflower Showdown / the Governor's Cup. Obviously, in-state rival game. Last week was really bad for Kansas. It's a tough loss to Texas Tech, 16-13 after a big win against Oklahoma. and I think before that they had a win too. ISU. So Kansas is in a weird little spot here. Kansas State, my team, in my opinion, is that always that team, kind of like the Wisconsin, in my opinion, that we know. They're always tough. They always get that close win. They lost a close one to Texas, and they beat the shit out of Baylor last week. Kansas State, in my opinion, is going to win this game. I had 8. I'll take the 9.5. They win by 10, 13 points. Uh, I think Kansas might be reeling a little bit. I think their quarterback's pretty good. He's not really the backup anymore. He's pretty much the starter.
He's
Daniel
injured.
Bean is out too. Oh shit.
Bean got injured down the stretch, so I think he got injured in like the
Is that
second
why they
quarter.
couldn't score any points against Texas Tech? I'm
Yes.
assuming.
Well, so they like refused to kick field goals for whatever reason,
Take the points
and
when you
I
can
think
get them.
that's part of it. Yeah. But yeah, Bean's injured, so his
Mm.
health is a big thing, and
Oh,
maybe
give me
there's a
Kansas
decision on
State.
his health.
Easy then.
Yeah, I have Kansas State as well. So I mean, DJ Giddens is really the force. Kansas has been absolutely gouged in the running game in the last few weeks, and that's something to kind of keep an eye on because that's Kansas has been gouged, and Kansas State wants to do that. So that's something to kind of look at. Jason Bean, when he's healthy, he's really good. But when you're on your third quarterback, it's not good
No.
anywhere in the country. It doesn't even matter. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio, even Ohio State. I mean, they could. I don't even know if they can go too deep this year. And usually they can go 3 deep. Even
Yeah.
when they had Ewers, we've seen Ewers without, first few games of his career. It's just a completely different position. So yeah, if Jason Bean's healthy, I like them more. But I'm still taking Kansas State 100% in this game. I like how they're built. This is an opportunity for the Big 12 to kind of flex its muscles and absolutely love that. The Big 12 standings are absolutely nutty. So you have Texas, who's number one, who's if they win the next 2 weeks, they're in. Then you have OK State 5-2, OU 5-2, Iowa State 5-2, Kansas State 5-2. So this is an opportunity. Kansas State get a huge win and stay in that hunt going into the last weekend of the season.
Yes, I agree. We're on the same page here. Like I'll say it again. Kansas State to me is like that Wisconsin. Not this year, obviously, but like they're always there. They're gonna play you tough. They're gonna test you, and they'll come out with close games. So that's how I see them. I think they kind of, if Bean is out, I'm gonna take Kansas State. Probably, I'll take 2 touchdowns personally. I'm not gonna bet that, but I would probably take that if he's out. Hopefully, Leipold. He's a good coach. Maybe he figures something out here and keeps it close. But we're both gonna take another Wildcat team. But a game that I almost skipped over on accident because they both suck this year. Little Southern California showdown. UCLA at USC. The current spread is -6 USC. And neither team's ranked. Woof. This is a great color matchup if both teams are wearing their home jerseys with the
They do.
powder blues against the maroon, and it's just a great uniform matchup. So I hope both teams are doing that this year. I know sometimes there's weird rules, but I think now they always wear their main colors. Who's the quarterback for UCLA? Do you know?
I don't know. It's the guy that started the last few weeks, but
Uh,
honestly, I haven't even cared to learn his name because we were on Dante Moore
Schlee or
train for a
something?
while. Yeah, but
Moore and the other guy are out. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, Moore is redshirting officially. They announced that, so that's why he hasn't played.
Come on home, buddy.
Yeah, no, come on, home,
Fuck
the
you.
real home. He's, but no, the one thing too is Chip Kelly might be gone. So how much is he into this? There's reports that they're planning on firing him going into this. I get it. Maybe you're frustrated with the results, but this might be the most premature situation in the world. You just lost a fifth-year senior quarterback, and you tried to replace him unsuccessfully, and you have a five-star that came to town, hasn't played great as a freshman. We haven't seen any freshmen perform great,
No.
really around the country at the quarterback position. So this might be one of the moves that spirals UCLA to the bottom of the Big Ten because people are leaving. Like Chip Kelly's a household name. A lot of people are talking about him.
Big
becoming
Ten.
an
Wow, you
OC.
just said that with no problem because that's so true next year. Good for you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't.
they're,
Even,
they're
I
Big
couldn't have
Ten.
done that.
They're our brethren.
They're Big Ten.
You- they're more of a brethren than USC, in my opinion, after all the USC wins over Michigan in the Rose Bowl for all of my childhood. But it's really going to be a look at this UCLA defense and how much they can slow down
Agree.
Williams. I think I like USC in this game. I like Williams to continue to perform, to continue to do a good job. But on a side note, every big rivalry game should have the home and home colors as long as they aren't too similar.
Yeah,
Like Michigan, Ohio State, red and blue. You're never going to get that confused.
that'd be sick.
Auburn, Bama. It should always be the blues and the reds
Red,
against each other. Like Georgia Tech, Georgia. Give me the
But
yellow.
Georgia
Give
Tech
me the
always
gold.
wears their white. Most of the time, Georgia Tech wears their white. They wear the gold sometimes, but they're
Yeah,
usually white.
yeah, but any of those color matchups on huge rivalry games, like Florida State, Florida, like give me them, give me the blues,
Yeah,
give me the
maroon.
reds. Like,
Yeah,
there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. I don't know if it's an NCAA rule or if it's just like a decision, but put both teams in their home unis, put both teams in their best looking unis. I
yeah.
think that's true. I think home unis are the best looking unis for basically everyone in the country. Um, so I would just like that to see that more. Outside of that, like I said, USC. Dave, where are we looking at this game? I know you gave some insights,
Yep,
but where
yep.
are we leaning?
Can Caleb keep carrying this team? He's been pretty much the whole team. Their defense is terrible, as we've discussed. Lincoln Riley, fraud. He got Oklahoma and USC, of course. We both know this. I would really love to see UCLA win this game, personally, but I think Williams is too much and USC covers late. So we're on the same page for this one. I think it's a kind of a close game here and there, and then Caleb makes maybe a crazy play here and there. I would say Heisman-esque. He's already won one, and then they win by a touchdown or 10 points, and Chip Kelly is gone. And really curious to see where things go here. I mean, obviously State's been looking for a coach for a while now. We're got a head start, and all these things are going to start spiraling. Coaches and in their quarterbacks are going to be looking to go elsewhere if things look right. So really interested to see the next 3 or 4 weeks here with the coaching carousel and the new college football, because it's pretty much free agency with NIL, and they get a free pass if their coach leaves. So really interested to see how things happen here down the stretch.
Yeah, the big thing too is like if you get people before the end of December, then they have a month before National Signing Day to get recruits and to confirm recruits and to solidify guys and say, hey, I know I signed you if they're, a former coach. Hey, I know I signed you to UCLA, and I know it's a far drive to go to Michigan, for example, but I can guarantee you playing time because this team's ass. That's some
Right.
of the things that they can incentivize, and that's some of the things that we'll see play out. Over the course of the next few weeks. I mean, the earlier you can get a person in, signed, and they can help recruit and help finish out your class. As we know, a team who has less than a 54% blue chip ratio has never won a national championship since that stat came out. I
KB
think in
stats.
2000,
There it is.
since 2008, I think, or maybe even earlier than that.
Somebody fact
So
check
you
that.
have to have good. You have to have good players to win, right? And good players are usually the higher starred players.
Absolutely. I
For
like that.
example, why Georgia and Bama have in the SEC
Yeah.
have won because they recruit better
I like that
because
stat.
everyone's down there. So yeah,
I like that. Probably to the game of the week. Next game is game of the week. Washington at Oregon State, 7:30 kick Eastern time. Washington's ranked fifth. Oregon State is 11. When I made my notes, it was -2.5 for the Beavs. Currently, it is -1 for the Beavs. So more of a toss-up game either way. I'm not gonna give my thoughts right away. I'm gonna tell you my pick, and then KB you can talk, and then I'll elaborate later. But give me the Beavs in the upset
okay.
here.
These
Money
two,
line.
dude. I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing.
Look at us. We're on the same wavelength today, and I don't really like it. I'm pretty sure last time we
I
did it
don't
wasn't
like it
great,
either.
but
I don't like it because I love it. I absolutely love it. I like when we're on sync. I like when our thoughts and our projections. Because again, guys, I don't know how long we've been here and we said this, but like we reach this shit separately. We don't even talk about who we pick.
Nope.
We don't even talk about the games.
we
We
just
say,
talk
hey,
about the
here's the
matchups
games
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
talk
cover.
about. Yep.
And this one's exciting. This one's exciting. This or that. I love Oregon State in this matchup. Tough defense. It's a weird place to play.
Corvallis is goofy.
Goofy place. Penix, they're coming off that big win. They're coming off big wins, big wins, big wins, and now we got to go to Corvallis, and it's a different place to play. Uyunglele, just to wrap a bow on him, we were very high on him in the offseason,
Yes.
and he's completing 58% of his
Yep,
passes. And a run-first offense and a lot of play-action offense, and that just goes to show his inaccuracy. And when I think of him, I kind of think of Joe Milton, where they have these big arms and these big bodies, and they can also kind of run, but they're not runners. Like you wouldn't necessarily call a lot of.
He's
run
not like
plays for
they're
him,
not
but
like
they
a Michael
can
Vick.
run.
Michael Vick was like, "I'll see you later,"
Yeah,
but he could just
they're like a
toss it
Dante
down there too.
Culpepper, but with an inaccurate arm, and
I
they
like
can't really
that.
make the throws.
I like that.
And but outside of that, I love the way this Oregon State team works. Damian Martinez, we've seen this Washington team get absolutely gashed in the running game, and I think this is when it finally comes up and kind of bites them in the butt. They have Washington State next week, who's been awful
They've
down
been
the stretch.
bad.
A team that was maybe a little overranked going into all these games, who hasn't played great. But I like Oregon State as well, Dave.
Mm,
And follow up on this because I guarantee you weren't expecting me.
nope.
Sorry, Sam. I know you
Yeah,
ride with the
dogs.
dogs,
Dogs.
but this isn't it. And hopefully you listen to this on your flight down here tomorrow, and we can bring this up.
Yeah, hopefully he can download it before he gets on the plane. But yeah, I think this Oregon State defense versus Penix is really key here. He has struggled in games. Obviously, the last couple weeks he's been fine, but against Arizona State it was really bad. And obviously he's been good when he needs to be good. But I think this Oregon State defense is really tough. They can run all over, like you said. I think they run all over Washington. I think they probably get 200 yards plus. I can easily see that because they're run first team, and maybe DJ can make some big throws when he needs to. Um, he does do some overthrows, and I hope he can figure that out for this game. Maybe he steps up a little bit, and he shows us maybe he's not as good as we thought, but maybe he still has that big game moxie in him still. Along
Yeah,
with
I would
this,
say the I would. Oh,
I got one more thought. I think Washington's running game needs to step up to help Penix out. They haven't ran the ball that well except for the USC game. And if Dylan Johnson can have a good game like he did against them, kudos to him. He's not a bad running back. It's just their scheme. It's their line. So I just look at that too. I'd like to see how Washington tries to run against a tough defense like Oregon State. I'm still going to take the Beavs though. Money line. I'd like to see an old school game here. I think Washington could run the ball if they really need to. And if Penix is struggling, the Beavs win by at least a touchdown.
yeah, Dylan Johnson has back-to-back 100-yard games, so shout out to him, Mississippi State transfer. But kind of along the same lines, yeah, Damian Martinez 1,000 yards, 1,024 yards, 7 TDs, and Fenwick has 497 yards and 5 TDs on the season. That's who they're going to rely on. If the Beavs can get to 250 rushing yards and can compound that with like 3 DJ Uyunglele touchdowns. I know that's going to sound weird. You're going to be like 3 touchdowns. Well, that means they're getting into the red zone and they're using play action and they're getting him throws in the red zone and they're not like we're scared to throw. I think that's like a good line for Oregon State to have an upset. I think this game, the higher it goes in terms of scoring, the worse it is. I think Oregon State will probably top out around 35 points.
Mm-hmm.
So anything under 35, I really like this game for Oregon State. Anything above 35, I love Washington because that offense is super explosive. You have Paul Kadunze. You have a great quarterback, arguably a Heisman contender, but he's been not great 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Just some more stats. He completed 57% of his passes for 332 and 2 touchdowns. He completed 56% of his passes and 369
It's a lot
and
of
four
big plays.
touchdowns. And that
It's got to be.
a lot of big plays, and when you rely on that, it can be a little inconsistent, especially against a good defense and a
Yes.
team that will run the clock out where you're not going to get as many plays as maybe you hope to.
Yeah. Great
So
takes. I love
something to
that.
kind of watch out there.
I would love to see the Bees win this game and just kind of shake things up. I think if Washington keeps winning, I think the college football playoff will have a weird situation. If everybody keeps winning, obviously some things will happen because people will play each other. But as much as I'd like the Beavs to knock them down, I kind of want chaos before we have the 12-team playoff as well. So something to keep in mind. But let's go Beavs in this one. And I'm kind of curious where they end up in a conference. I don't know if anything's dropped or not. They're probably in the Mountain West, but I really don't know.
Oh,
Yes.
so facts. So Oregon State and Washington State won the battle, and they are claiming all of the money for all of the members that are still in the pot that came out either yesterday or today.
Hmm.
I can't remember. So now Oregon State and Washington State have control of all of the money that the Pac-12 members have put in over the years, and that's kind of like the
Oh.
slush fund. And they're going to use that to offset TV right deals. I think they might sign with someone, or they might sign like, "Hey, we'll play this game," but then they are allegedly forming a contract with the Mountain West. So each team, or 7 of the teams, play each other, and then they each play one of the other. Because I think there's like 10 teams in the Mountain West, so I think that give them up to 5 games. They play each other. That's like 6, and then they'll
Hmm.
fill out the rest and out of conference. But they're allegedly forming a Pac-2, but we're adding the Mountain West in terms of scheduling to form an alliance with them, kind of what Notre Dame does with the ACC. That's what came out
I like that.
like recently.
I think that's a win for them. Personally, that's a win. I really like to see how they match up against Boise, Fresno, UNLV, Air Force. There could be some fun games next year. So looking forward to that. And I think they didn't win everything, but they kind of won a little bit there at the end. It seems like.
Yeah, and a good idea for them too is to also not sign with, but see if you can get scheduling rights with some of the independents. that are still out there and hanging around, like Notre Dame. If you could each
There's
judge
only
that,
like
then that's a
two
kind of
independents, really.
yeah, yeah.
Three?
I mean,
Is it
there
Notre
was like
Dame,
five.
UConn, UMass?
I think that's it. Yeah, yeah. I
And
think that's
UConn's
it.
down,
So
and UMass is not good. So
well,
interested to see how that
you
works
have what
out.
you can.
Good little tidbit there. I did not know that. I saw something in the news, but I didn't read it. But one more game before we get into our games. We're kind of vibing here. I'm liking the vibes. But the last game before our games is 7 Texas at Iowa State. I have Texas when I did my notes minus 7.5. And my first question is Iowa State any good? They're kind of a weird team this year. I feel like they've been up and down.
Yeah. So I mean, this is an Iowa State team that lost to Iowa. This is an Iowa State team that lost to Ohio. Oh, Ohio State. No, no, no.
The
Ohio. The
Bobcats, who won? I think
Bobcats.
they won Tuesday.
Yeah.
Maction.
Um, but one of the interesting notes and why I wanted to cover this is first off, shout out to Larry Keeney. This is his team. This is where he went. But throughout the last four um, games, Iowa State has won in the series. And last year
Wow.
it was a 3-point game, and they haven't won an Ames since before 2020. So
Mm.
Ames has kind of been a homestead for this Iowa State team. Their defense is really strong. It always has been under Campbell. It's kind of their offense that has let them down. I mean, they have two premier players in the NFL, and this offense, struggled at times. And we're looking at Quinn Ewers here, completing 70% to 2,232 yards, 14 to 4. Brooks is out, obviously, with the ACL, so
Yeah,
they're
it
going to rely
sucks.
on Baxter. And then they have Blue behind him, who's a little bit younger of a runner. We'll see how that all pans out. Good receiving core. You got Rocco Brecht here with 2,100 yards. But I think they've gotten better week in and week out.
They
I
beat the
think this
shit
is a
out of
young
BYU
team.
last week, 45-13.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you have to also look at is they lost important key figures to the betting scandal. I
They
know we all
did.
kind of forgot about that, but their starting quarterback, Hunter Deckers, he was not
Is he
great
like
last year,
off
but
the team or is he just suspended?
yeah, he was kicked off the team. I'm like
Wow.
90% sure. But a lot of those guys, they're not on the team, and it was between them, Iowa, and Iowa State. So that's something kind of looked at, and they've looked really good. What'd you say the line was, Dave?
When I was doing my notes, it was 7.5, and then right now on ESPN Bet, it's still 7.5. Texas.
I'm taking Iowa State
Mm.
to cover. Texas hasn't finished a fourth quarter since the Oklahoma game. You look at their games, they won 33 to 30, 29 to 26, 31 to 24, and all those games have kind of been comebacks at the end. They did win a game 35 to 6, but 3 out of the 4 games were one score games within that kind of margin. Their turnovers before the Oklahoma game, they're averaging zero point 0.8. They're now averaging 1.8. They're averaging one more turnover a game.
That's
I know
big.
part of that was with their backup, but even Ewers turned the ball over a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the red zone hasn't been great. So I'm going to like Iowa State in a weird, goofy upset. Texas is not back. I think that's going to what you're going to see cover Twitter all weekend, and we're going to be able to eliminate the Big 12 as a competitor
Mm.
in the
So you think Iowa State's going to win? You're
championship
not
in
going
the
to take the
playoff.
points. You think Iowa State's going to win the game?
I'm taking them to win. I
Wow.
love it.
Okay.
Give me the upset.
This is a weird game. Small spread. I think Ewers is back. He needs to be better. Obviously, it's an AC sprain. Was it in his throwing shoulder? Or
I
is
don't
not?
remember.
I can't remember.
I don't know if it was his non-throwing or I think it was his non-throwing. I think it was
Either
his
way,
left.
okay. I think Brooks being out is a huge loss. We've been talking about him all season. He's a really good electric running back. He can get yards quick. He's quick, explosive. So he's a big loss. For me, Iowa State keeps it close here, but I think Texas pulls away at the end with a late touchdown. So I'm going to take the Horns with the points here, minus 7.5. I think they're just too much. They're too athletic on the outsides, even though Iowa State has gotten better. And Ewers has a big step up here, and they win by maybe the late touchdown makes it a 10-point game.
I don't dislike that.
Okay. Let's jump into our games here, and we'll be all done. Let's just start with my lovely, lowly Spartans trying to get the old brass spittoon back since we lost a terrible game at home last year. I did not go, thank God. Anyway, it's Michigan State at Iowa. Iowa -4. That
Michigan
hurts.
State at Indiana.
At Indiana -4. Indiana's
Yeah, you
favorite.
said Iowa.
Oh,
But that's okay.
thanks,
We were
Katie.
just talking about Iowa State. I just wanted to
Michigan
clarify,
State
it's
at
Indiana.
Indiana
Yep.
-4. Indiana. The old brass spittoon, like I said. Sorsby had a good game last week for Indiana. He kind of torched Illinois. I think he kind of stepped into that starting role. They were with somebody else earlier in the year, and I think they probably started three quarterbacks at this point. And what's their coach's name? He's probably fighting for his.
Tom Allen.
Tom Allen's probably fighting for his job. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired as well. I think he's a good coach. He does get the guys going. Indiana's a hard place to coach football. When's the last time they were really good? They had Antoine Randall, I'm pretty sure, a while back. Besides that, I can't think of a lot of Indiana guys. I'm going to go back to now. Can we run the ball? Nate Carter has been gone. Our O-line cannot get a push, and it just sucks because Nate Carter, I think, in my opinion, is a good, solid running back. Obviously, he's not K9. K9's a GOAT for Michigan State fans, as we all know. But Nate Carter is still a solid running back. You give him a hole, you give him a place to go. He will hit the hole. He runs hard. He breaks tackles. He's a small guy. So I would love to see us run here. The line needs to be better. The O-line coach can fuck off with everybody else as well. I'm over all the coaching. Hauser needs to take some shots here down the field. I feel like a lot of his throws have been short outs, easy completions, which is fine. But like, take a step up in your game. It's your job right now. Levitt is taking his red shirt, so you have nothing to lose right now. Don't think about next year. You guys will figure that out with whoever comes as our coach. Take some shots. You have athletes. I know not about receivers do not get separation, but you have Tyrell Henry, who's an athlete. Lante Brown is an athlete. So take some shots. Maybe play action. Maybe you can run the ball, take some shots downfield, and just see what happens. I think his arm is okay. Sometimes he has a noodle, so I'm not sure if he can do that or not, but take a risk. Jay Johnson sucks as well. Get him out of here, my face as well. The thing, in my opinion, that makes a difference here is our defense. Our defense has been pretty good. Obviously, Ohio State thrashed us. Just forget about that game. They're head and shoulders above us as a team. We got to get to their echelon sooner or later here. But the defense has been good. Besides that game, in my opinion, they've gotten better. Hazelton's been doing good. He's probably the only coach I kind of like right now. And our defense is young, and they've been stepping up. So give me Michigan State money line. I think it's a close, weird game. The defense makes a couple stops here and there. Maybe Hauser makes a big throw, and we win a close, weird game. And I'm only making this because it's the last bit of optimism that I have, because it's already gone. And I have a sliver left, and I'm taking my Spartans money line here. And what a season. That's all I got to say. Because we're losing the last game.
I want to shoot this down. I think Indiana wins this game. Since they put Sorsby in the starting lineup and really officially granted him there, you saw them really struggle with Rutgers. They struggle with Michigan, and they go and play Indiana. They lose 33-24.
Penn State. You said Indiana.
Sorry, yeah.
You're good.
Indiana
we both
to
do
Penn
it.
State. Yep. 33-24. Some huge explosive plays. They go and beat Wisconsin 20-14, and they put up a bunch of points and end up losing an OT to Illinois 48-45. I mean, I just think their offense has gone to the next level, and one of the big players that we've seen is Donovan McCulley. So he's originally recruited as a quarterback for this team, and he's split out as a wide receiver, kind of more of an athlete body. He's 6'5", 200, and I just kind of wanted to shout him out because that's always a treacherous thing when you have to split out and go to a position that you haven't, and he's been playing well down the stretch, and I just think that that's too big of a matchup on your secondary. I mean, we thought it was getting better, entering Big Ten play and kind of who they played, and I think it's just because Big Ten quarterbacks can't throw the ball, more so than that their secondary got any better, because the two okay/above average passing offenses haven't broken a sweat throwing the ball over your head every single play between Michigan and Ohio State. So that's something that I kind of wanted to point to. McCulley has 524 yards and 5 TDs, so just wanted to shout that out. I just like Indiana here. They're, a hard-fought team, and if they lose this game, just so we're clear, if they lose this game, Michigan State, they finish last in the Big Ten. Overall. No, the Big Ten.
Pour some salt in the wound there, KB.
Assuming that they lose to Penn State.
Probably.
Everyone else has at least 2 wins if Indiana wins. So this is the battle for last place. I don't want to see any tweets about the brass spittoon. I want to see the battle for last place in the Big Ten. I want it plastered everywhere. I know I'm being a little rough. Obviously, okay. I love you MSU guys, but I've been through it as a Michigan fan, and
this is worse with our coach and everything. I mean, we don't have to pay him. And as a person, I hope he's okay. He's an idiot, but as a person, I hope he's okay. But like, what a situation. I think with him, with no scandal, we probably have 5 or 6 wins this year, maybe.
Yeah, I think you'd be teetering. I think this would be to get your sixth win.
Yeah, and
That's
I
that's
think
my
if we
honest
have Peyton
opinion.
Thorne, I think even though Peyton Thorne's nothing crazy, I think he's an okay quarterback. I think he is probably the better quarterback between everybody. I think Sam Levitt in the future could be better, but I think if you have Levitt, Hauser, Thorne, and Kim, Thorne is the best quarterback right now.
Yeah, I mean, in the offseason, everyone told me that Thorne wasn't a QB1, and why would he ever be considered a QB1? State fans and state Twitter.
I probably said stuff
And
too.
what's the worst decision? Not making sure that he's your QB1, or the call to go jerk off with a lady that's sexually
Jerking
assault
off,
advocate.
jerking off.
Yeah, it is, but it's definitely up there. What a poor decision maker Mel Tucker is to not protect his asset, which is his football team. But we're moving on.
Yep, yep.
Unless you have anything else to say, Dave.
Nope, no. I hope we win, but I don't have a lot of optimism, as you can tell.
All right, Michigan versus Maryland. Michigan without their head coach Talia Tungavailoa. They gave Michigan a scare last year.
They did.
It was a one-score game down the stretch. Um, Michigan went up two scores, then Maryland scored, and then Michigan. They never were necessarily. They were had one drive where they were threatened with a score to tie the game. Maryland not one time in the second half and had an opportunity to win the game. So it was a close game, but it's not one of those close games where it's like, they get the ball and don't score or anything like that. I think Michigan comes out super focused. I think Donovan Edwards had a breakout game. I think they're going to make it a point to give J.J. McCarthy the ball. Last year in this game, early on in the season, J.J. probably missed 5 or 6 throws in this game that I think he would make this year. And I don't think this is as skilled as the secondary as Maryland. And so I'm really liking Michigan. I think the cover's 19 points.
Yes.
I think I'm going to see Michigan come out focused, ready to go. I know people talk about the trap game. That really hasn't been a thing for Michigan. Last year, Illinois was just a good team that matched up well with them and how they wanted to stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Michigan comes out with more to prove. I think their wide receiver room and their passing attack is going to have a lot to prove because going into the game last week against Penn State, it was Michigan isn't running the ball like they usually do. The passing attack really has carried them. Can JJ carry them? And then Michigan really went with a run first approach, 32 consecutive runs. Um, I I loved it and hated it at the same time. But 32 consecutive runs, and now everyone's like, "Oh, there's something wrong with JJ. He can't throw the ball. This is the worst passing offense." Because the national media doesn't follow game to game like me or David does on our own teams.
Yeah.
And I just think it was a decision at one point in the game, being like, "This is the only way they can win. Let's not give them that opportunity." And so I think that JJ is going to have some extra reps. One of the things I talked about in the offseason in my end of the season preview is that JJ was going to break the all-time passing record for single season touchdowns, which was 25. He was way ahead of pace going into it, but back-to-back
It
week
could
was zero
happen.
touchdown passes. So I'd like to see a 3 or 4 TD pass performance before we head into the OSU game this year. But outside of that, Dave, do you have any thoughts or comments?
Oh, you guys are cheaters. I just had to say it one time. It's confirmed. I mean, it is what it is. You're not the victim either. I hate that shit. You're not doing it, but a lot of Michigan people are playing the victim role. Obviously, there's worse scandals out there. One including my university that happened a couple years ago, or not mine. I didn't go to state, but we all know Nasser's a piece of shit as well. But you guys are cheaters. I just had to say it a couple times to make myself feel better. But this could be a sneaky game, like you kind of said. I also think that Michigan covers late here, and JJ plays a good game. I think that he kind of needs to step up. Maybe he has a 3 touchdown passing game. I think Roman Wilson was pretty quiet last week. I
He
think he
didn't
has.
catch. He didn't even
He
get
probably
targeted.
has a big week. What I've noticed since the state game is a Barner. It seems like he's getting a lot of targets. Your tight end. Obviously, you guys are more of a pro style, so your tight ends are going to be out there. But I think Roman Wilson steps up here, and JJ has a big game, and then it's kind of close and kind of weird, and then Michigan kind of pulls away in the third, fourth quarter. They win by 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and it's an easy win. And we're all looking forward to the big game. If college football playoff wants to make it interesting, you can make them 1-2 down the stretch. If you want to make it really interesting, they'll probably be 3-4, 2-3, whatever. But I think Michigan covers here. I think they're pissed off. You can't blame the players in the situation that they're in, so they're going to play tough. Like last week, hard-nosed football, just run the shit out of the ball down Penn State's throat. So I think they come out pissed off and they play well, and JJ might have a big game. Tulia could sling the ball around. His numbers aren't terrible this year, but he does make mistakes in high pressure situations, from in my opinion. And Maryland is always in this middle ground. I always hear about this when I listen to other state podcasts. Would you rather be Maryland or Michigan State? Maryland's always going to be 4 or 5, maybe on a good year 8 wins, and then you have State where we might be down for a year or two, but we do go up to a 9, 10, 12 win season, Big Ten championship. So that's a good question to pose people. Would you rather be Maryland, where you're always kind of middle of the road, or would you rather be Michigan State, where you have down years, but you also have the highs of Big Ten championships, Rose Bowls, etc.
Yeah.
So maybe just a question to throw out there to your friends and to you, KB. What do you think?
Well, I think the thing too is to realize um, they've built a program that has a good floor. That because of who they can get there, but they don't have the high ceiling. They
No.
don't have the 10, 12 win ceiling, and that comes from depth. Like Loxley has done a terrific job. I mean, they had a dude where their coach killed a player, and they're still able to recruit people to that university. I mean,
True.
Allegedly, right? We have to
Everything
throw
for
that in there.
Michigan too. Sorry, cheaters. Allegedly
Yeah.
cheaters. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing is like they've done a good job on building a good floor at that university since Loxley's got there.
Yeah.
I think that they're still waiting to get to the top of the roof, and I think that comes in two different forms. They really have to get better on the offensive line. Last year they were really good on the offensive line, which even with Tua playing worse than he is this year, I think you see that. But it's going to come in the realm of they get a 5-star, DMC area or DMV, sorry, not DMC, DMV area 5-star recruit that finally decides to go to Maryland, and they can, sling the ball around and win that way because they have good skill position players, week in, year in and year out, and they just don't have necessarily a complete full team in the trenches to win against an Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, usually Michigan State, but you guys have been. But just
Correct.
overall, I'd rather be State where I already have a ceiling available to me year in and year out because the ceiling is all that matters. If
Yeah.
Michigan wins the national championship this year and wins 2 games next year, will they get flamed? Yeah. Will I care? No. Like I'll be mad,
will
but
care,
they won a
but
national
you won a
championship.
natty.
But they won a national championship.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can be like, I don't care. Our national championship was last year. When was yours? Right.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah. Touche. Yeah, I think that's a good question to just think about, and it's a good conversation. We're both going to take Michigan the points, but we've been talking for a while, but let's jump into our top 15 here quick and wrap this shit up. I'm going to do mine
Yeah.
first. I'm going to go from 1 to 15 just because I feel like it. I have a couple of honorable mentions. We talked about them earlier. James Madison, they're undefeated. Also, Liberty, undefeated. I don't think they play. I don't know if Liberty has a ban as well.
No, I think they're
good.
eligible to
I
play
think
in a
they're
bowl
eligible.
game. Yeah.
I don't think that, either way. I'm not sure what conference. I think are they both in the Sun Belt, or is one in
I'm not
Conference USA?
familiar.
I'd look that up later. But both are undefeated, so good for them. But here's my top 15 from 1 to 15. 1, Georgia, obvious in my opinion, and then here you can go what you want with here. I do have an interesting one at 4 and 5. OSU 2, Michigan 3, Washington 4. I think Florida State's like mediocre, so has Washington, but I'm gonna get bump Washington up. I'm gonna put them at 4. Why not? 5, Florida State. 6, Oregon. 7, Texas. 8, Bama. I was a hypocrite last week. Texas beat Bama, so I got to move them over Bama now. 9, Louisville. 10, Mizzou, because I love them. 11, Oregon State. 12, Penn State. 13, Ole Miss. They just lost last week. I really wanted to push them out, but I can't. 14, Oklahoma. In my fun one, 15 is Tulane. Only lost to a mediocre SEC Ole Miss team, but they're still going to be 9 and 3, 10 and 2. So give me the green wave with one loss at 15.
So at number 10, you had Missouri, right?
Yes.
And then it went Penn State,
Oregon State, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Tulane.
So the only difference we have is I have Oklahoma and Ole Miss flip-flopped. That's the only
Everything
difference
else
that
you
we
have
have.
Tulane at 15.
Or no, 15 I have JMU, just because.
Oh yeah.
Fuck them.
Look at us.
It's just
We're in
fuck
the
them
same. We're in the
yeah.
same wavelength here.
So I mean, it obviously should be LSU, but I
Yeah,
refuse to
yeah.
give a 3-loss team. Look, by the end of the season, 3 losses will be so common in all the teams that I'll be willing to put them there. But at this point in the season, with still 2 weeks left of the season, I refuse to put a 3-loss team that high. I know they've had a lot of tough games. I know that they have losses to Florida State, Bama, and Ole Miss, and then their wins against Missouri and all those guys. I just refuse to put them there. And then, but outside of that, yeah, we have the same exact
You had Washington
list.
at 4 too.
Washington at 4 because
Wow.
Florida State has looked terrible against
Yeah.
mediocre competition, and Washington has at times too. But then they've played really well
They
when they
they
needed to.
beat USC.
Yep,
They beat
beat Utah.
Utah. They
Yep,
beat
and you can.
Oregon.
Yep, yep. And then they'll, this definitely after this Oregon State game, I had Georgia jumped OSU last week for me, so that wasn't anything different.
Hmm.
And then I had U of M at 3. The reason why I'm putting OSU above them is simply because I refuse to put Michigan ahead of them just because OSU has done more. I think Michigan's the better team. They head-to-head competition, which isn't the end all be all, but Michigan's played much better head-to-head against the teams that OSU has technically struggled with. Like even the Maryland game, they needed a pick six. Rutgers, they needed a pick six. And they beat them by about similar spreads. I know Michigan had a pick six, but just overall, I just like the way that this kind of worked out. And it's funny that we had basically all the same.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Um, Zona, okay, backtracking a second. The CFP having Iowa as a 16 team is the stupidest thing in the world.
They win.
They shouldn't be in the top. Yeah, Dave, if
If Michigan State
Maryland
was in the
played,
Big Ten, wait, if Michigan State was in the Big Ten West, who fucking
yeah,
knows? Honestly,
you guys would be like,
we
you
would
guys
be
would be 5
we
and
would be
5.
fine.
But if Rutgers was in the Big Ten West,
They might win.
if Maryland was in the Big Ten West,
I mean, even like we said, Michigan State. I mean, it's bad.
if Michigan State, or Penn State were in the Big Ten West, they would go undefeated every year for the last 4 years.
Ohio
That's
State.
how bad that conference
Said
is.
Michigan
Any
State.
of them.
I mean, I'd take them too, but yeah, it's bad. The Big Ten West is bad, and Wisconsin is
The Big
down.
Ten West is the worst conference division in all of football, without a doubt.
I mean,
So-
top to bottom, it probably is.
I have some more stats for you.
KB Stats is here.
I brought this up for a completely different reason. So someone was breaking down, the Big Ten's kind of overrated this year. The Big Ten East is 4-2 against out-of-conference opponents. The Big Ten East is 2-6, with 2 of those losses being Purdue over Virginia Tech 24-17.
You said
they
East,
also
West.
lost the game.
The
or,
West
sorry,
is 2-6.
The West is 2-6.
We're getting excited over here.
Yeah, Purdue had a win over Virginia Tech 24-17. That they then lost to Syracuse, and then Iowa beat Iowa State 20-17. The only teams in the Big Ten East that have lost is Indiana, who lost by 7 points to number 9 ranked Louisville,
and then we got throttled.
and then MSU, arguably the worst team in the Big Ten, lost 41-7. Everyone else played well. Michigan, obviously, you also get hurt by the Michigan schedule. It could have been 5-2 of the Big Ten East because they didn't have to play a Power 5 opponent this year. But it's just one of those things. They're one of the worst divisions in all of football. The fact that they get a free ride, Iowa's going to be in the top 15, and then they're going to get a goddamn
throttled by
boost.
the Big
playing
Ten
they're going to lose
championship.
by 30. They lost 33-0. They let up 96 plays to Penn State at home. At home.
Yeah.
And now they have Deacon Hill. It's just garbage.
They're not good.
Worst division in all football. Worst division in all football. I would take the MAC to kind of compete with that. It's bad.
Like Toledo. I bet you Toledo gives
Yeah,
Iowa
they
a
lost
run
to
for the money.
Illinois by 1 at Illinois.
Yeah, Toledo's always pretty good. They got a good quarterback. I love that our top 15s are pretty much identical with a couple changes here and there. And shout out to you for having JMU. I had Tulane, another under the radar team that's doing really good. I think this is a fun week, even though it's kind of a sleeper week for the SEC. So looking forward to watching these games. I do have kind of a busy Saturday with some family stuff and just kind of doing things around town. So I'll do my best to check. Obviously I'll watch the state game on my phone when I can. But just shout out to the season. It's already week 12. We've had some good episodes. People have been listening, so keep doing that. We appreciate you guys. Hit us up on Twitter, like KB says, or even email me to fansonepauL@gmail.com. And TikTok's been probably our hottest commodity. Shout out, Nat. The last TikTok about tailgating and driving was spot on. I've been there. KB's probably been in the car with me too, leaving. So I appreciate everything. And I got to say, go green. What else you got to say, KB?
Go blue, and thank you guys for listening.
All right, you know how we end it.
You've been